It has become a tradition that I traditionally get to share this particular Sunday with each of you each year. And although this year we are still socially distant, that tradition obviously continues. It has also been a growing tradition that on this particular Sunday, the dawning of the new year, I share a dream with you about the season, and this year is no exception. In this season of new beginnings and new starts, a new angel shares some words of wisdom as we move from what was most certainly a unique year for all of us into a new tomorrow. Will you please bow your heads and pray with me? May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our source and our sovereign. Amen. My husband will be the first to tell you he did not want the dogs to sleep in the bed. But more cuddly minds prevailed, and London and Paris now settle down each night for what one hopes will be a long winter nap. Which is awesome, except Paris, the smaller dog, does not like to be disturbed when she sleeps. And she thinks she's boss. And she's a mean boss. She growls like an 80-pound German shepherd guarding a treasure when she wants her way. And she's just a mere 20 pounds. Challenges arise when London, the older, larger dog, who is a somewhat restless sleeper, tries to reposition herself in the middle of the night. That sets Paris off into a flurry of what I can only imagine are doggy curse words. And she goes from 0 to 100 in seconds, which gives no one a long winter's nap. Moreover, London's a pushover. When Paris wants to sleep at the head of the bed, London moves to the foot of the bed and often ends up sleeping on my legs, which begin to cramp after a while. Yeah, I know, my fault. Well, when that happens and I cannot turn over, I usually get up and move myself to the couch in the living room to finish the night's sleep. What? It's far easier for me to move than try to explain to two very stubborn, very set-in-their-way dogs why they cannot be on the bed tonight. You dog owners understand. Anyway, it was such a night recently when I found myself on the couch, tossing and turning in a restless sleep. I don't know about you, but my dreams have been very vivid and very strange lately. And this particular night, I felt like I was in and out of sleep. I could hear the wind whipping through the tree branches against the side of the house. The snow had not yet covered the ground, so the wind caused the leaves to thrash at the window as I dozed off. I find myself standing in the square of a small town. I've been here before, but this time it's different. It's like a war zone. No color really, just brown with dead leaves blowing across the barren streets by a wind that cuts right to the bone. I can see the tattered remnants of wind-whipped Christmas decorations scattered on the ground near a large evergreen tree in the middle of the town square. Half the glass bulbs appear to be broken, and the string of lights is blinking on and off randomly like the cord is loose and can't get a real connection. I move closer to see what the display might have been. Oh, there was an inflatable Santa whose left leg has come out of the fan housing. He's sort of half there, dancing like one of those flailing tube men you see outside of car dealerships. In the manger scene, someone has magic markered a mustache on Mary, making her look a bit like my Aunt Sally, to be honest. Baby Jesus has been liberated from his manger, out to do his work in the world, I guess. And there's an angel with outstretched arms looking lovingly at the remains of the display. The angel seems to glow from within. I wonder why this one Christmas effect is the only thing still working. Now, you'd think I'd be used to this sort of thing by now, but when the angel turns to look at me, I jump.
The season of joy is given again, as it was so long ago, to remind humankind that love is given the chance to be renewed over and over. And this year we even gave you a Christmas star.
Well, I wouldn't know about that because the night of the Christmas star, the sky was completely cloud-covered. A perfect metaphor for 2020.
Ouch. That was kind of snarky. What's the matter? Did you not have a good 2020?
What, are you kidding me? Have you not been watching this whole insane year? Who are you?
Well, I'm a pretty big deal where I come from, but what should I have been watching?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the pandemic sweeping the world might have caught your attention. If not that, perhaps the civil unrest, extreme weather, everyone forced to be apart.
Oh, sounds terrible.
It was.
Okay, now let me get this straight. You're telling me you've learned nothing over the last few years.
What do you mean?
What have you been challenged to do every year for quite some time now?
Feel the joy.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, how do you know about that?
What? You think we don't talk? You think you are the only one that got the memo like we're all up here in a meeting? Hey, here's a super important message for all humanity. Should we give it to all humankind? And Gabe said, nah, let's just give it to Paul David and hope it turns out okay.
The angel Gabe?
Saint Gabriel, the archangel, the patron saint of communication. What, you think we call each other by the full names and titles all the time?
No, that's fair. Is this the same Gabe who came and talked to Mary at the Annunciation?
The very same.
Wow, it's pretty cool to have my name on such impressive lips of someone so famous.
Well, don't be so surprised. Gabriel comes to many people in many forms to share the messages of our collective source to aid in each one's spiritual growth. And what have you done with your message?
To be honest, this year seemed like one blow after another. And I have to say, most times I ended up focusing on the bad things, and then another bad thing would happen. That would draw my attention, so I'd focus on that until the next really bad thing happened. Then I'd focus on that.
And what does the law of attraction that you like to talk about so much say about that?
Well, the law of attraction says that which is like unto itself is drawn.
Yes, it does say that, doesn't it? So by focusing on all the negative, what do you think that you caused to be drawn to you?
More negatives? It was really hard to not focus on negative when we spent the better part of the year worried that I would have a job or that I would catch COVID. And with my luck, I wouldn't get the mild case, but would be the kind that landed me in the ICU. But I needed to work. So there I went each day into the wider world.
So not only did you forget the law of attraction, you forgot you're charged to feel the joy.
Feel the joy in a pandemic? How exactly does one feel the joy in a pandemic?
You just do it. I believe that you have a sports retail company on Earth who not only embraced their message from Gabe, but turned it into a logo.
Oh, Nike received a message from the Archangel Gabriel. Come on.
One of the ad people did, yeah. And they took that message and they created something the whole world could embrace. And it seems to apply here, doesn't it?
You expect me to believe that an ad agent on the Nike account received a message from God.
Why
Just
not?
do it.
Do you think that you and the Blues Brothers are the only ones who get inspiration from source energy?
Well, no.
Well, in fact, everyone receives inspiration and guidance from non-physical all the time.
Intuition, that still small voice.
Yes, yes. But as you've said yourself so many times, the signs are all around you. They're around everyone else, too. So yes, it was a pandemic, and fires, and riots, and hurricanes, and derechos, and murder hornets, and 100 other negative things, but you of all people should know there is a balance. What happened on the other side of the coin?
Well, the world ground to a halt for a bit this year, and some balance with nature was restored. We were challenged to think of all the things we do in a different way, causing us all to grow. We learned the true value of looking someone directly into their eyes, or the healing power of a human touch, or a simple hug administered in real life. I would say we had the chance to learn what really matters in life. Parents got to take a more active role in their child's schooling. Working from home helped people realize they needed a work-life balance, and many struck it. By not being able to gather inside, many embraced the outdoors like never before, spending healing time in the sun and the fresh air.
Yes, and many had to confront their fears, have a dark night of the soul.
Well, how is that a good thing?
Well, you all seem to forget that you're eternal. You always have been, you always will be. You are a part of God, of source energy. You cannot not exist.
Well, yeah, the Gospel of John sort of does start out saying that, doesn't it?
Yeah, you also forget that you chose to be here at this time and place so that your soul could grow, become more than you were, blossom, if you will. But blossoming involves change, and people generally don't like change. It oftentimes requires a push to inspire them to evolve. What is that poem by Lassie Benton?
And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom.
Yes. And 2020 was just such a push for those who choose to embrace it. You have to admit, things needed to change. Think about it. What causes muscles to grow?
Well, they have to be pushed to their exhaustion point. Then, when the body heals, they come back stronger than before.
The signs are all around you. And when you first begin to push those muscles to begin that growth, how does that feel for a short while?
Well, it'll hurt like hell for a few days until your body gets used to the growth. Oh, wait. Can I say hell in church?
Well, what difference does it make if you say it here or if you say it at home? It's all holy. It's all God's creation. And Source is listening everywhere at all times. All people, all places, all things. It's all God. What do your scriptures say? In the beginning
was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Without the Word, nothing was made.
Exactly.
That was made.
And the Word is Christ. All is given. All the signs, all the blessings, all the opportunities for growth within that great care of that which is love, which you call God, and which embodied itself in the one you know is Jesus of Nazareth, whose birth you just commemorated. Now, the inspirations are given to many, but few choose to actually hear the words. And those who do hear, well, many think it's too hard. And they choose not to live a life based on what those words convey. They find themselves stuck in what they thought they had been taught by others, who, incidentally, have also chosen not to hear.
Oh, man, that's so true. I found myself needing to learn and grow this year as protests following George Floyd's murder escalated so quickly to violence and looting. From my suburban white male perspective, I didn't understand why there couldn't be a peaceful solution to all of this, only to be reminded that many tried to take a knee, to peacefully shed light on the gross inequities, and were met with derision. I think it was Kimberly Jones' powerful commentary about the history of inequity, where she observed that the social contracts that should be in place have been broken time and time again, and that the people who are supposed to come in and fix things when something goes wrong are killing people of color, the very people they're sworn to protect and serve, killing them in the streets. And then to watch some people choose not to hear or to understand a person of color's perspective and simply deny that racism exists against a backdrop of white supremacy and a Confederate flag, that was really hard for me.
Everyone has the choice whether or not to hear and heed the inspiration from Source when it is given, just as you do. For you are all created with free will.
And then during the never-ending election cycle, watching people who claim to follow Jesus acting like children and throwing a hissy fit when asked to put a simple piece of cloth over their gaping pie hole to possibly save the life of someone else, someone more fragile than they. And when they don't, and are confronted by people just trying to do their jobs and enforce the rules for the good of all, they eviscerate them in a self-righteous tirade about rights and freedoms, which is not what any of this is about. It's never been what any of this is about. It's showing you care for the other people on the planet more than your minor personal discomfort. I get it. We all hate wearing the masks.
And yet, it is your calling to love those people too. For they are your neighbors, your brothers and your sisters, and they are also a part of God's creation. In fact, more than that, they are a part of you too.
What do you mean?
Again, back to the book of John. All things came into being through him.
And without him, not one thing came into being. It's like that line from the poem, The Worst Thing by Shalane Harkin. The worst thing we ever did was to put God in the sky, out of reach, pulling the divinity from the leaf, sifting out the holy from our bones, instead insisting God isn't bursting dazzlement through everything we've made a hard commitment to see as ordinary, stripping the sacred from everywhere to put it in a cloud band. Everywhere, prying closeness from our hearts.
Exactly. all things came into being. That means your entire world, nay, your entire universe. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among you to give you an example by which you should live your life. The Christ overcomes every obstacle with love. You can do the same.
How's that?
The charge you are given to feel the joy isn't about being happy. It's about rising above the challenges of your daily life to where they no longer have power over you. It's about focusing your intention, and your intention is your most powerful tool of creation, on the things that bring you joy.
Oh, okay, so I just ignore the bad things. Pretend like they aren't happening. There's no pandemic. The world is all peachy. Everything is...
Are you through? Have you heard the phrase, energy flows where attention goes, where it ceases to flow, things wither?
Yes.
And what do you think that means?
Well, to me it means where I place my attention, those things will flourish. The things I don't focus on will languish. But how can I just ignore the bad things that are going on?
It is not about ignoring the bad things. In fact, you're not capable of ignoring the bad things. If I told you not to think about a certain bad thing right now, what's the one thing you're going to focus on?
Oh, the thing you told me not to think about, of course.
Correct. So it's not about trying to ignore them. It's about redirecting your thoughts and your energy into a different direction. When Jesus told his disciples to turn the other cheek, it wasn't about ignoring what was going on. It was about refocusing their attention, therefore their energy, in a new direction to obtain a new perspective which will grow with their focus. In that way, the law of attraction would take hold of that changed perspective and draw more of that to the disciples instead of the negative situation which caused them to get their cheek struck in the first place.
Come on, Jesus talked about the law of attraction.
Well, he didn't call it that, but a rose by any other name smells as sweet.
Ooh, a little Shakespeare. Very nice.
Thank you. All of Jesus' teachings are rooted in the basic understanding that all are one. And because of that, what you do to others, you do to yourself. Or, as more commonly stated, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Because you are doing it unto you. You are made of all the same thing. You all have the spark of the Creator within you.
Huh. Think about the great commandments in light of that. If we're all one, created by and of one God and source of all, when we are commanded to love the Lord God with all of our heart, all of our soul, with all of our mind, we're really commanded to love our whole self. And the only logical extension of that is to love our neighbor as ourselves, because our neighbor, like us, is just another part of the same spark of source. Simply another perspective, if you will.
How does that make you feel?
Honestly, joyful, triumphant, hopeful. And my mind just might be a little bit blown by that revelation.
When the challenges come in your day-to-day life, and they will come, it may benefit you to recall this moment, this revelation. It may offer you a glimpse of God's grace and the breadth of God's love. Jesus gave you the roadmap in his short time here to guide you to a closer relationship with God. And the trees that you have lit in this season can guide the way to the next. There needed to be a birth for there to be a life. There needed to be a life for there to be a death. There needed to be a death to show you that death is the ultimate illusion. You cannot destroy what is eternal and part of source energy.
Part of God.
Yes, in different words, same thing. That's for the scientists in the room. When you take communion, you've been instructed to do this in remembrance of me, correct?
Of course.
Well, today when you take communion, remember the love of Christ. Remember the grace. Remember the healing. Today, in this new year, remember to model your life after the life of the baby in the manger, whose birth you just celebrated. Let joy be reborn in your hearts. Yes, even in the midst of a pandemic. Let love be reborn in your hearts, even with those that you disagree. Love always wins, because love is God, and God is all there is.
I notice a light snow has begun to fall, transforming what was once a desolate picture into a beautiful frosted snow globe.
It is written, God spreads snow like it was wool, frost like ash. God issues a word and it melts away. That word is love. Let love fill your heart to overflowing, and take that love and spread its message to the world that seems to have forgotten that we all are one.
Who are you?
Oh, didn't I already tell you? My friends call me Gabe.
The Archangel Gabriel?
I told you I was a big deal.
With that, I feel the morning sun warm my face as it comes through the living room window. It must have snowed while I slept because the light is extra bright, glinting off the new fallen snow. As I lay there half asleep, half awake, I reflect upon the powerful message imparted to me while I slept.
In the challenge of your daily life, may you recall these moments and remember God's grace freely given.
Maybe I'll turn that into a song.